network.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Rough is alongside me, and it's Monday. It's Tam McManus and Alison McConnell with us. I wonder what we'll be talking about today over the weekend's Premiership results. You can set the agenda. Give us your reactions on Facebook. You can like, share and follow with your friends. Tell them about the Football Show and our ever-growing football family. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So lots to discuss. And I might as well tell you, Tam, I don't know, you've got to thank the guys at R&D Miller who supplied us with our tribute to Bill Shankly. We've got them now in 4 colours, Tam. I don't know about you. I mean, they just look great. I mean, I'm ecstatic about the Maestro tops. They're looking great, Tam. Are you happy with them?
They're cracking. Take it they come in different colours. Do they come in blue and green, I hope?
Well, they come in green, they come in royal blue, Tam, for yourself, and also it's black and white as well. So all colours, Alison, you can choose whichever one you feel will bring out the best in you. And Roughie, I'm not quite sure what colour you will go for. Anything but Ross County, I would presume.
Oh, they're doing well now, aren't they? Just looking at the league table, to see where they're sitting. But no, the tops are great. Tops are brilliant. I'm sure we can get a choice, Tam, for Christmas.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to get one sent out.
Yep, well, look out for the big launch on it this week. The training tops are on the website as we speak. Really looking forward to it. Okay, weekend football. Rangers 13 points clear. Celtic like a rudderless ship with another stumble this time against St Johnstone. And as I mentioned in a tweet, and we've been talking about it ad nauseum over the last month, this is no longer about Neil Lennon as manager. It's quite simply about a board just complacent, made mistakes, and 10 in a row for me is gone. Roughie.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way just now. I mean, I don't think you could argue the case. And it's not just because Celtic are poor, it's because Rangers are so good. And they look as if they're in the mode that Celtic were in when they went the whole season undefeated. It looks that way at this precise moment in time. So I think you maybe have to get your head round it. Eventually, it's going to be too much to close the gap if Rangers continue to play the way they're playing.
Well, don't forget our ongoing competition, Can You Spot Where Roughie's Microphone is still continuing this week. We've decided that all you need to do... we could just see it at your right ear, Roughie. We're wondering how long it would take you. Anyway, apart from anything else, I say it's gone. Do you say it's gone, Alison?
I would say it's highly improbable. I don't think it is gone just yet, but what I would say is there is no evidence that would compel you to think that Celtic have it within them to go on the kind of run that would generate points and would close the gap to put any discernible pressure on Rangers. If there was a bit of evidence that said they could win their 2 games in hand and close the gap to 6 and go to Ibrox with some conviction, then you would think it remains game on. But the problem just now is that over the last 6 weeks, there's just nothing to suggest that Celtic have it in them just now to eke out that kind of form, to find that kind of form. They look like a team shorn of all belief. They look disjointed. There's a real disconnect all the way through. There seems to be a lack of imagination, a lack of energy, a lack of creativity. No one seems to be willing to take on too much responsibility in the ball. And I think if you were playing against them just now, I think you would sense the fragility about their confidence and the fragility on the park too.
Well, the one thing that I think is catching them out, Tam, is one of the words that Alison mentioned there, and that's creativity, because they play in front of so many teams. It's the same movie from the weekend there that was the same movie from Ross County and all the way back to the start of the season. They're playing in front of teams. They don't have players who can go past them. They don't have players who can go beyond and open up a team. And once every team that comes to Celtic Park or elsewhere plays against them, once they can ride out that 25 minutes of relentless passing, they then think to themselves, we'll wait for that chance, we'll pick them off, and they'll not be able to score 2 goals.
Yeah, there's a severe lack of creativity at Celtic. You know, as you said, they pass the ball side to side. There's obviously a lack of confidence going through the squad. And when you're lacking in confidence, you don't want to try things. You don't want to get on. And listen, I think it would be 10 times worse if there were supporters in the moaning and groaning. You know, when the balls are going side to side, but you know, there's nobody taking a chance, nobody trying things. You know, everything's safe. The safe pass all the time, and teams are just wise to it. You know, they're defending narrow, and Celtic can't get wide, can't get to the byline, can't get crosses in. So it's very predictable at the minute. And to be honest, the way Celtic are playing at the minute, there's more chance of Aberdeen or Hibs catching them for second place than there is of them catching Rangers in first place. You know, at this precise moment, you know, there's absolutely no chance at Celtic catching Rangers in this form. The Rangers win the league by 20 points. So something's got to give. No.
I agree with you, Tam. 20 points is very, very realistic when you consider the form of Celtic and what's happening at Rangers. And also, excuse me, Stuart Crowther saying, too early, Peter, to say that. It's not even Christmas. Need to wait for the New Year game. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I agree with you on that, Stuart. You have to watch them regularly to see exactly what's happening with Celtic. Here's the damning statistics of Celtic at the moment. It's not good reading. Played 12, won 2, drawn 4, lost 6, scored 19, conceded 28. The statistics are there for all to see. And to be perfectly honest with you, even when you listen to the manager Neil Lennon after the game, he's not quite conceding the title, but he knows it's going to be an uphill struggle now.
So I've got to be realistic. I wouldn't say it's over, but we're making it more and more difficult for ourselves, and we need to start winning games and winning them well. I understand the frustrations. You know, we're not playing well, and we're not getting the results that we should be getting. So, yeah, I mean, there's ways and means, and you know, some fans are more irate than others. But at the minute, I would agree with them that our performances don't merit the quality that we have. And if that's on me, then you know, so be it.
Well, let's be perfectly honest about this, Alison. Neil Lennon came in after the Brendan Rodgers debacle at the tail end and guided them to the title, and did it last season. And he got all the plaudits and all the adulation from the supporters for what he achieved. This is the roughest time, this is the toughest time he's ever known, but he knows himself. He lives or dies by the results. And that's what we're calling it on. Results, 2 wins in 12, not good enough. And even he knows, even with, I mean, I'm not at this moment, you know, looking to put the boot into Neil Lennon. I'm wondering about the complacency of the board, who are quite happy to let this just stumble along.
First thing I'd say is that I thought the words were the same yesterday in the aftermath of the game. I thought the sentiments remained the same, but I thought the manner in which they were said and the body language and everything that went with them was very markedly different. I thought all the fight seemed to have gone out of him yesterday. I think if you spare a thought, I think he must be working and operating just now under horrific pressure, because it would seem to us as outsiders that you're one game away from things igniting, the very ugly aspect of things igniting round about it. But he's a realist. He will know himself that results dictate managers' futures and what happens in the game. And I think there does come a point where you just run out of road, where you have to say that it's not happening. They're in a rut, and there's just nothing to suggest that they're finding their way out of it just now. I think that stat that you just showed a minute ago, the 28 goals conceded in 12 games, is essentially the crux of so many of Celtic's problems this season. The soft centre has bled all the way through the team, because while middle to front, you can essentially still count on them to score goals. They cannot be trusted to keep it tight at the back and to keep a clean sheet. And I think that's given rise to a whole number of problems this season. And it makes you think about Fraser Foster last term and the role he had. If you even go all the way back to last season's cup final, the League Cup final at Hampden against Rangers when Celtic won, and Rangers were the better team on the day, you know, you would go back and say, well, Foster essentially won them that game with the amount of saves he made. And when you take that out of the team, what you're seeing is some of the flaws that were evident last season now have really taken root.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fraser Foster is just one of a number of issues with recruitment and performance in that Celtic team that you could go through with a fine-tooth comb and highlight so many negatives it defies belief. The rumour now, Tam, is Eddie Howe is being groomed for it. But, I wouldn't listen to one person from the next on the rumour of, whether it's Howe, whether it's Martin O'Neill, whether it's Gordon Strachan, because quite simply, the horse will have bolted.
Oh, the horse is long gone, Peter. I said a month ago on this show that the board had a serious decision to make if they wanted to contemplate changing the manager. And, fast forward a month, they're out of 2 tournaments. I think the league's gone. They've dropped another 4 points. So I think the supporters have got every right to be really, really angry at the board for not making a decision, because we can all see it. I think after the Sparta Prague game when Celtic lost 4-1, and it was a humiliating defeat. It wasn't just a 4. It was a doing, and it was against a team that had plenty of players missing. So I think after that game, there must have been a serious thought of changing the manager. And if they did change the manager back then, they maybe still be in the League Cup, maybe still be closer to Rangers in the league. But whoever they bring in now, he's not a miracle man. The league's gone for me. It'll take an unbelievable collapse from Rangers from here, not to win the league. So if you're going to bring Eddie Howe in, I think it's a 2 or 3 year project. You give him a 3 year deal. It's not the end of the season. I don't think he would take it to the end of the season. I think it's pointless for him. So if you're going to get somebody like Eddie Howe, then you say, right, you're here for 3.5 years. There you go. That's your budget. Forget about this season, and we'll build towards next season. Or you get a Strachan or an O'Neill, and you try and salvage the rest of this season. So that's the decision that the board's got to make.
Yeah, it's short term or long term, but I still think there's more poison to come and vitriol from a number of fans who are not happy and are obsessed with the 10 in a row, Roughie. And that is the biggest problem about this season. As each game goes on and there's no fans in the ground to really vent their anger, this has become almost like a social media campaign rather than anything else, because apart from the few hundred or 1,000 that are outside Celtic Park, the board haven't really felt the wrath of the Celtic fans, Roughie.
No, they haven't, and so spoke about it on numerous occasions. I've said to you, most boards make a decision when the anger's pointed at them at a game with a large crowd in the game and physically, shouting over at them in the director's box. A lot of them buckle under that kind of pressure. So you're right, there isn't that pressure, and fortunately for the players as well, there's not that pressure, because I'm sure there'll be a large segment of the fans venting their anger as well during the game, so that wouldn't be helping them either. So you're right, the 10 in a row, everything that's been put on the 10 in a row is just becoming back to haunt them now. They've made such an issue of it as the be all and end all. They've taken their eye off European football because the 10 in a row, and it's now turned against the whole club. And the sooner, I don't know this time. I agree with Tam at this moment in time. The 10 in a row doesn't look as if it's feasible at all, And I have to say, and me, I've said the Scottish Cup. I think if this Scottish Cup wasn't in a fortnight, I don't think Neil Lennon would be in the job. I think the board themselves have been pretty loyal to him to try and get him to see out this Scottish Cup and hope there's a win at the end of it and something might turn. But if the Scottish Cup wasn't in a fortnight, I don't think he would be there just now. I
think it's a big hope, Peter. Playing Hearts.
Scotty,
I don't think you'd have thought that was a certainty. The Celtic to beat Hearts, but the way they're playing now under Neil Lennon, listen, you wouldn't put a penny on them.
You're absolutely right, Tam. You would not put a penny on Celtic to beat anyone at the moment from the top flight or indeed a championship club like Hearts. Even Niall asking the question here, what do you make of the vociferous backing that Alan Thompson gave his mate? Well, listen, there are a number of that Martin O'Neill squad that are undoubtedly, Ali, going to rally to the cause, from Stilian Petrov to others. Some people, I think even Chris Sutton's given up the ghost on it, but a number of his mates, rightly so, will get behind him. But have a listen to this, Alison. We're talking about a manager after the game talking about some of his players still not fit.
I don't want to preempt anything. I want to keep working and trying to turn it around. We need a bit of swagger back in the team that's missing at the minute. Some players aren't fit enough, and that's been the case for a long time. Some players are, just not in good form, and we can't keep. They need some respite at some stage, and they need some support from me. But again, it's a two-way thing. The players have got to play better. And we're trying everything we can to get those performances right.
I mean, that's a sad state of affairs, Alison. We're in December, and a number of players haven't showed up. A number of players are not fit. A number of players have got problems. Some potentially want away. Need I say more?
I cannot understand for the life of me why there are players who are not fit in December. I genuinely am baffled by that. I know that Griffiths had a knee injury problem. There's seems to be a constant of coming back and playing a few games and then picking up an ugly injury. Like David Turnbull too had an injury and then came back. So is it just a case that they are lacking in match fitness? Or is it they're just not capable of starting games and going on a run and playing for a series of 90 minutes? But I find that staggering, I have to say. I just... you and I would be up at Lennox Town. We see the facilities, we see the resources that are there, physical resources of the equipment, but also the sports scientists and the education that goes on, the nutritional information that's handed out. It perplexes me that you have players who are not yet fit enough to sustain and have a proper input into the campaign.
And I must apologise to everyone. While I read out that list of misdemeanours and mistakes that have been made, I forgot to add, of course, some of the players that have been bought who've contributed diddly squat, zero, zilch. You know who they are. I don't want to rhyme them off. It's only an hour show. As ever with this programme, Celtic drop points, and apologies to St Johnstone fans because the game plan was there. Just wait, get your moment, get your chance, take it. Chris Kane did, and they scored. And Callum Davison, quick to emphasise, his team are on a good run. And what about how they played?
No, I think it's about how we perform. I think Celtic are obviously got top class players, and I think it's about how we apply ourselves. Because I think if they think that, they might think we'll get an easier game, which you never do. So I think it's more about how we sort of set up how our structure is, how our application is. And I thought today, they applied themselves brilliantly.
Yeah, well done to St Johnstone. Sometimes you forget about that, Roughie, but they had the game plan. I watched Callum Davison behind me in the Ross County game in the Cup when Celtic get knocked out, and he just sat there and he must have watched Ross County and thought, that game plan seems all right. They'll just pass it in front of 11 men and then we'll pick them off.
Yeah, we've seen it before. When you're a good manager and you have your team very well organised, you get behind the ball, it's very difficult to break them down, and they did. Every player in that St Johnstone jersey had a job to do, particularly the front three, who I thought were pressing everything at the back, putting the Celtic defenders under pressure. They couldn't play out at all. He got his game plan right, and he got the goal at the right time. For me, I don't know if you'll agree with me, I thought the star man was Zander Clark, the goalkeeper. I thought some of the saves he made were absolutely outstanding. So Celtic will look at that as well, but apart from that, no, you got to give St Johnstone credit. They battled away and they got the just reserve at the end of the day.
Up at Ross County, Rangers rampant. 4 goals to the good. 16 goals for the season. This could be one of the most grovelling apologies ever to Tam McManus if Tavernier ends up the top goal scorer in the Scottish Premiership. But the boy has been blistering for him. I mean, he's inside the penalty box to score his goal, and it's not as if he's at the back end of it. He's in the middle of it scoring his goal, Tam. I mean, great credit to him. He's been an absolute sensation this year.
What a turnaround, Peter. What a turnaround for James Tavernier. I mean, I look at this match, after the Hamilton Accies defeat. If you can remember, he said some stuff in the Rangers programme that a lot of the Rangers fans were raging about, saying they crumble under pressure, and a lot of them were wanting them dropped for the team and stripped for the captaincy, let's be honest. There was a lot of furore about that, and for him to come back in the way he has, and to captain the team, possibly to be the captain that stopped 10 in a row, is some turnaround for him. And I genuinely think that no fans, particularly Ibrox, has helped him. I think that when things are not going right, I think the first finger that gets pointed among supporters is at the captain at any club. And I think the pressure, when the pressure was on Rangers, the fans were pointing the finger at him. Why is he captain? Why is he not doing this? Why is he not doing that? And those comments in the programme. So I'm really pleased for him. I think he's a top player. And you see now the confidence that he's playing with. You know, he's in the box. He's not just scoring penalty kicks and free kicks. He's in at the back post. You know, he's up the park to try to score goals. He's hungry to score goals. He set a couple of goals up as well. And he's been the best player in Scotland so far, no doubt. You know, to have that number of goals and that number of assists and that number of clean sheets, I mean, he must be a joy to work with. He's doing everything, you know, keeping clean sheets, scoring goals, setting up goals. He's been phenomenal for Rangers, and I think he deserves it for the strength of character that he's shown to come back from a really, really tough spell at Rangers.
Yeah, you know me, Roughie, I love a midfielder. I thought he was a really good player for Rangers first time around, second time around, all his experience, you know, record-capped player for Northern Ireland. Steve Davis played a pass in the game against Ross County that I think it managed to take out 4 players with one move, Roughie. It was sublime. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a great person, but I also think he's a great player. The pass for me was a joy to watch, and eventually Rangers scored from it.
Yeah, it's the kind of a player and the kind of pass that we all want to see. One day, he must be a great guy about the dressing room. And even on the park, he just does the simple things. He just does everything correctly. You know, and in fact, if you're watching a game, you hardly notice him at all. When he's on the ball, he does the simple things, but he's got that pass in him as well. And Stephen Gerrard was quite rightly coming out and saying, singling him out of the weekend, because he does go a wee bit unnoticed when you've got the likes of Tavernier and Morelos and all them, you know. And I think the manager really appreciates him being a midfielder, you know, how much he puts into the game.
Isn't it amazing, Ali? You know, Roughie mentioned Morelos there, but nobody is talking about Morelos. Everybody's talking about all the other players that are chipping in with goals, and there's a man who's just made his 800th appearance for Rangers, and he scores a goal. Jermaine Defoe, he's flying. I mean, I think Steven Gerrard said he thinks he can get to 900.
I think he's one of these guys. He's really looked after himself. I think I'm correct in saying he's a vegan. He eats a plant-based diet. I think he's been very, very careful throughout his career about nutrition and diet and all the rest of it. And you can see that reflected in the fact that he's playing and not just playing at this stage of his career, but playing and scoring goals and having an impact. But to go back to your point about Morelos, this time last year, Rangers were so dependent on the goals coming from one source. And when they returned in January and Morelos wasn't scoring and looked, dare we say it, looked a bit like how Odsonne-Edouard has started this season at Celtic. He looked down in the mouth about not getting the move. He was very inconsistent. The goals weren't coming and Rangers stuttered. Now you've got goals coming from all over the pitch. You've got goals coming from Tavernier setting them up and scoring them, but you've also got so many other options in and around the box. And for me, that's been a huge difference. That responsibility has been shared throughout the team.
Yeah, it's a good point you make there. Tam, just before you make it, I'm just taking Jermaine Defoe off the Christmas card list, and of course he's not coming to our staff party. A vegan. I'm sorry, Roughie, but we're not having vegans at our night out. By the way, I mean,
no.
Go and check that just in case I've got that wrong. But I'm sure I remember him talking about eating a plant-based diet essentially. Because he wanted optimum return from his body, that he was very, very careful about everything that he ate and drank and just how he looked after himself.
Peter, you're talking about Jermaine Defoe there, 38 years old, comes into the team after a number of weeks, can play 90 minutes, fit, sharp, not a pick on him. You compare that to some of the guys at Celtic who come into the team and look as if they've been dragged through a hedge. Look as if they can't play 20 minutes, never mind 90 minutes. You know,
are you scared to mention Lee Griffiths?
No, you've got Lee Griffiths, you've got Turnbull. I think that was the two that Lennon mentioned yesterday in his press conference. They two can't play 90 minutes, according to Neil Lennon. And you've got a guy at 30 years old, Ibrox. Yeah.
Turnbull?
They've got a guy.
Rogic?
Yes. No, he mentioned Turnbull yesterday.
Turnbull. Did he? Turnbull's just back from an injury as well.
Well,
I think, to be fair, that's what he was referencing. I think that's what he was referencing. He's come back from injury, because obviously David Turnbull would have been playing 90 minutes regularly for Motherwell prior to the knee injury, and then even just at the start of this season. Yeah,
Defoe's a class act, Tam. I mean, he scored goals everywhere. He's been a brilliant player.
It's professionalism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ross County, not really at the races, Roughie. I just thought, again, they play some nice football, Roughie, in the build-up. But that final third, I think they're shot shy. They've got nothing.
No, and they need to score first. Alan McGregor had a wonderful save at nothing each. You go a goal up at home, it gives you a wee bit of confidence, but right away, Rangers just smacked them right away and got their goal, and then get the other one right away. But it showed Ross County last week at Celtic when they got the goal up that their confidence was lifted, and they thought they really did believe that they were going to get something out of the game. But Rangers' goals just came all at the wrong time for them. But it's the amount of goals they're losing as well. They're losing heavy defeats when they're getting beat, and that's why they are where they are. Their record, I don't know if we've got the stats on that, it must be horrendous. If you take the Celtic game out of that, God knows what, it must be poor.
Yeah. I haven't got those stats, Roughie. I usually keep them
I knew
ready.
you would.
I usually keep them ready for you because obviously you're being your bonnet about Ross County. But nevertheless, I think it was all about Rangers and what they were doing up there at Dingwall. 13 points clear. Is there any way back for Celtic? Is it all about Rangers winning the league? I mean, the League Cup is a strong possibility. The league could it be the treble? I did actually look at PLZ Soccer on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and the question was, Tam, can Rangers or will Rangers, whichever way you want to look at it, will Rangers go through the entire season unbeaten domestically? What do you think?
I think there's every chance, Peter, the way they're playing, the way that the squad's operating, the guys that are coming in, there's no drop of performance level. So I think there's every chance of going through the season unbeaten. Unless they take their foot off the gas near the end when they've won the league. You can maybe let a couple of teams, take points off you, but there's an opportunity if they keep the foot to the pedal that they can win everything this season.
Yeah, it would be fair, Alison, to have two sets of invincibles over the course of the last 5 years. Do you not think so?
I think it's too early to say just yet. I think what you would have to say is the manner in which they're playing just now, they're just brushing teams aside. There appear to be no chinks in their armour at all. They look very, very strong, very confident. They've got so much momentum at their back and they've got belief. And when you have that and you take it into games, it just gives you such a boost, which you can see with the manner of their performances. They don't seem to panic now if the goal doesn't come early. But one interesting point that I would say is Alan referenced it at the very start of the programme when he mentioned that the big difference between Celtic and Rangers now is just the fact that Rangers aren't dropping points at all. And funnily enough, if you actually look back into Brendan Rodgers' last season at Celtic, the points tally just now isn't far off what it would have been, despite the fact that they've dropped so many points. But the big difference is just the fact that Rangers are not dropping points anywhere. Rangers, I'm not sure if Rangers have had enough credit for the fact they have improved significantly. They're a much, much better team than what they were a year ago. And where Celtic were in February and March, when they came back off the winter break and were flying, is where Rangers are now. You've essentially got a complete swap in circumstances.
Yeah, and the other aspect of this, Roughie, which is to their credit, Michael Beale, Gary McAllister, Stephen Gerrard, the game plan, the organisation, everything that they've been working on since the end of last season is all about that organisation. Players have bought into it big time. Even the players that they've brought in and the players that are on the bench all want to contribute now. It's amazing the change in the attitude, in the way they're going about their business. Everybody wants to contribute now, and that's what happens when you get those wins.
No, I think when Steven Jebb came in and he started bringing players in, he knew the quality of player that he wanted to bring in, and initially the quality was pretty average, but year on year it's got better and better, and this year tops it. Everybody he's brought in has added to something that Rangers have done. There's not been a failure, and just about 10 minutes ago we were talking about all the Celtic failures that have came in. I don't think Rangers have had a failure. Even Ryan Kent, who a lot of us sort of doubted after his first year, thought, well, he's not worth that kind of money. He's now got his act together, and he's looking the real deal as well. So, no, I think that you touched on it earlier there, that you have a serious look at signings you bring into the club. We don't know. Well, I don't know who makes the decisions at the end of the day and who identifies players, but if it's whoever's at Celtic, better have a serious look at themselves. Whoever's identifying these players. Because some teams' managers just say, oh yeah, great, look at him, £7 million, oh, we'll have him. And they just go along with it. So, but no, you can't sing for the rooftops about any of the signings that Celtic have brought in, but you can at Rangers.
Yeah, interesting times. You can give us your thoughts on that. Do you think 10 in a row is dead? I think it died at the weekend. I think Celtic's chances of winning 10 in a row are slim to none. In fact, in my book, it's gone. And I think now there are some big decisions to be made, but when will they make them? And are things going to change? Would you like to see Celtic make a change now to try and salvage something? Is there anything salvageable in your mind? Give us your thoughts on that. And for Rangers fans out there, can you win the lot? League Cup, League, Scottish Cup. Is it all there for the taking for you this season? And what about Dave King's comments, Tam, which is basically that this could be the turning point, the changing of the guard, the power now switching over to Ibrox. He reckons this could be for years to come.
Well, listen, it could be true. I mean, I think Rangers are obviously in the ascendancy right now. I think they've had major backing. I think their gamble is going to pay off. It looks as if it's going to pay off. I think they've thrown everything in to win the league this season. I think they've gambled everything. They've went all in, and it looks as if it's going to pay off. Because if they get into the Champions League, then that money that they've invested, they'll get back. They've obviously got players in there that they can sell for good money as well. So now Rangers in a very, very healthy position, which we haven't been for 5 or 6 years. So I think that I don't think it's a changing of the guard, but I think they're certainly more competitive now than they've ever been in the last 10 years.
Yeah, Mark McCallum on Facebook. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, did I miss something? Did the power brokers at Rangers at this precise moment come out and have a statement about Dave King's move? Because I don't remember any of them saying, oh, fantastic, wonderful, great. Unless I missed that somewhere. I don't remember Douglas Park coming out saying about this share, him selling his share to these supporters seemed to have caught everybody by surprise, including the Ibrox board. And I don't remember anybody coming out and saying, yeah, that's a great move by Dave King doing that.
But
I think there's a lot more than that than meets the eye. I think the power brokers, the people who put billions and billions of money into the club, have sat back and said nothing about this at all.
I'm not sure where you're going with it, Roughie, because nobody cares. They're winning games. They just want to win the league and stop Celtic winning 10.
No, but it'd be interesting at board level, what the Douglas Parks and that think of the money that they've put into the club and where the money's going rather than what they've been doing. The point I'm just making is I never saw a statement for Douglas Park about what they were proposing to do.
I haven't seen a statement from Douglas Park on, maybe once. He's been quoted over the last few months. Don't think there's any need to say anything. As far as Dave King's concerned, Alison, he can make the shares available, but whether he's going to get the money or not is another matter. I mean, who's going to buy his shares off him for that price? I mean, that's the other big call on this one. If there's someone out there who wants them, he'll step forward. But I don't see too many people rushing to buy them right now.
You made an interesting point, Peter. When you're winning games and everything's going well in the park, nobody looks too closely at anything that's going on behind the scenes. No one shines a light on it or looks to illuminate it because the be-all and end-all is winning games. I'm a bit like Alan. I think I was taken a bit by surprise by it too, by the timing of it and the repercussions of it. But I think if you're going to do it, probably now is the best time to do it when everything's rosy in the garden and you're flying high and nobody looks too closely at it.
I was going to read out a point there, but I've completely lost the guy who made it. But I'll say anyway, Tam, that he was mentioning there, are Celtic good enough to even finish second? Well, you mentioned that you thought Aberdeen and Hibs could challenge them for second. I don't think Aberdeen have got a chance in hell. You can't beat St Mirren, you can't finish second, surely. I think Hibs have got a better chance.
Oh, Peter, listen, Aberdeen and Hibs shouldn't be anywhere near Celtic or Rangers. They shouldn't be anywhere near them. And the fact that they are quite close to Celtic shows how poor they've been this season. What I said was, if Celtic keep playing the way they're playing and don't make a change and it just continues this melee, then there's every chance that either there's more chance of Hibs or Aberdeen catching them than there is of them catching Rangers, that's for sure. And that should never be the case with the gulf and the budget and the money and the size of the clubs. But I think Hibs and Aberdeen will both be looking at it and going, just keep winning games and see where it takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. I was impressed. I was at Fir Park on Saturday. I was impressed by the Hibbies, the way they went about their business. The goals, of course, Martin Boyle, as ever, scored one to get them on their way. I thought Motherwell are a wee bit unlucky. I'll come to Stephen Robinson in a moment. But 3-0, I don't think it flattered Hibs. I think they deserved their win. And Jack Ross, a little reluctant to suggest where they're going to finish in the league.
We don't really look too much position at the moment. We set short-term targets within 6-game blocks, and we also have an understanding on a points per game basis what it takes to finish in that top area of the table, and we're doing well in that respect. So that's what we look at, how we keep putting points on the board, and we're doing well in that respect. And wherever that takes us, great. But we know that if we continue in the manner we are in that ratio, we're going to have a good season.
Yeah, I mean, the way they played, the Deutsch chipped in with a goal, McGinn as well. There was some good football played, Tam.
Yeah, there was. Listen, it was a massive result for Hibs. I think, obviously, with Motherwell getting awarded the 2 or 3-0 wins, it really put pressure on, I think, on Hibs, because I think if Motherwell would have won, they'd have went 2 points behind Hibs from nowhere, really. And, Hibs, maintain that 8-point gap now with a great win. I thought first half, Motherwell were probably just about the better team. They had the better chances in the game. I think they're unlucky with the goal to get chalked off. I didn't think there was a lot in that from a Motherwell point of view. But second half, I've no doubt that Jack Ross went in and gave a bit of a boot up the backside, because I don't think it was good enough the first half. But second half, Hibs were as good as I've seen them all season. I thought they were really, really good, really positive. The two full-backs, Stevenson and McGinn, joined in. They overlapped. They pushed McGinley and O'Donnell back into their defending positions, and Hibs got on top of them and scored 3 great goals. Martin Boyle, I think it's his first goal since September. Christian Doidge's first goal in 12 games, and McGinn gets a goal as well. So I think everything went really well for Hibs on the day.
Yeah, you're turning into stats man there. That's absolutely magnificent from you. Over and above that, I have to say, Motherwell denied what I thought was a perfectly good goal, and no surprise, Steven Robinson a little bit miffed at the referee, Andrew Dallas. I think he's waiting for an apology. He might wait a long time.
Obviously, the scoreline's disappointing. Key moments didn't go for us in the game. The goal disallowed changes the whole game. Hopefully I'll get an apology from the referee. We make mistakes. I'm not saying that's a reason we lost, but it certainly changes the momentum of the game. Going in at half-time 1-0, Hibs are a good side. They've got some very, very good forward players. And they have to come out and chase the game, and that leaves us to expose them at the back. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah, Alison, I thought Tam was being a little bit presumptuous there. I mean, he says Hibs got the 3 points. Motherwell are still scouring at the moment to see if there's a Hibs team photograph from last month that they could maybe dock them the 3 points, because it seems to be all the rage at the moment. If you've got a team photograph, you're in big trouble with the SPFL.
Delete.
Yeah, absolutely. Get rid of all the photographs, Ali, and you're safe. But he'll wait a long time if he's waiting for an apology from a referee, Alison.
Indeed, I think he probably knows that himself. I'm sure he's been long enough in the game to know that. I doubt there'll be any apology coming his way.
Yeah, St Mirren against Aberdeen. I mean, I would bet Aberdeen in the Cup in a month of Sundays, Roughie. You never know what you're going to get with them, and if you're going to finish second or third, you've got to beat St Mirren. I'm sorry, apologies to St Mirren fans, but the Dons.
Yeah.
This season, it's just you never know what you're getting.
Yeah, inconsistent. There's no doubt about that. I think Darren McManus is quite fortunate as well. There's not any fans in the ground just now. We know what they're like. They expect cup runs. They expect to be challenging. That's not happening. And I think a few of them are a wee bit upset in the way things are going just now. So these kind of results would just put pressure on you if there was people in the stadium, but there isn't. And, we know that they can turn up at any given time in a good performance, but this has been a very, very poor season for Aberdeen so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Good goal by Hayes, but Lewis Ferguson, I'm a big fan of Lewis Ferguson. I think he's got a wee bit about him, but that wee bit about him, Tam, cost him dearly, because I thought both the offences were yellow cards. So I'm not quite sure where Derek McInnes was trying to plead his case. He deserved to go.
Yeah, he did. I like that part of Lewis Ferguson's game. He's got that bit of bite. He always plays on the edge, and I think if you take that away from him, then he wouldn't be as good a player. But sometimes he's going to stray over the line, and I think he did that on Saturday. I think it was, a booking and a sending off, and it cost his team dearly. From that point, they were hanging on for a draw against St Mirren, and Aberdeen are going through a little dodgy patch at the minute. 3 poor results back to back, and it's certainly let Hibs back into that third place chase, because I thought when Aberdeen beat Hibs up there 3 or 4 weeks ago that Aberdeen were a certainty to finish in third place, but the Hibs have come back strongly and they're back in it again.
Yeah, and no surprise, we all stumped for Livingston for the win against Dundee United because of the misdemeanours that they get caught out with, Alison. But I'll be gobsmacked if they don't give David Martindale the job as manager. He's on trial at the moment, but I think it's imminent. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's had an immediate impact since going there. I was at their League Cup game just in the aftermath of it when they played particularly well. And there's an interesting piece. You and Murray done a really nice piece with him at the weekend, which I enjoyed reading. And certainly, you think he's got the response from the players that you would want when you make the call to go and change a manager. Obviously, Gary Holt made that call himself, but you've got the impact that you want, people responding to you. There's a bit of a change in the application on the pitch. You're getting something different that just didn't seem to be there for the opening months of the season.
Thanks very much to so many people who are posting messages, some of them pertinent and intelligent, and some of them I'm going to read this one out to you, which I think is Craig and Thomas Jones, who said, Martin, Roughie, McManus and McConnell are absolutely raging because they don't know what's coming next from us, because obviously the business is kept in-house now. This is obviously with you opening your gob about that Dave King thing, Roughie. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a great line. I couldn't give 2 flying hoots about what Dave King does with his shares. We're here to talk about the football. If he sells his shares and gets his money, he gets his money. Believe me, Thomas, we really like to talk about the football, as most people do who actually come on the programme and want to hear balanced opinion on the title race and people who are going down. One team that doesn't look as if they're going down, Roughie, is Hamilton Accies, because suddenly from a point of thinking, I wonder if they'll sack Brian Rice, he's got a 1-0 win over Kelly.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows what Hamilton's all about. They wait and bide their time to play opposition that they know they've got to take 3 points out of. And for the last 2 or 3 seasons, that's what they've been doing. When the chips are down and everybody looks as if it's them it's going to go, they seem to produce a win. It doesn't matter what the score is, as long as it's like 3 points, and that's what they're doing again. Obviously, they've been helped with the COVID stuff as well. But no, week on week, they when the pressure's down, they turn it on, and they seem to get the wee breaks when they're there.
Yep, let's have a look at the table to see where your team is in the Scottish Premiership. Rangers at the top, 13 points clear. St Mirren at the bottom there with Ross County. Hamilton off the bottom. What a great situation to be in. And then the middle there, you can just throw a blanket over a good 5 or 6 sides. But at the top 4, Rangers with, the impressive points in the bag. And Celtic now at this point, you wonder what's going to happen. Are they just going to keep going on with Neil there trying to turn it around? Can he turn it around? There are some people out there who will be at this moment thinking that he can turn it around. Give us your thoughts on that. Team of the week. I don't think there'll be too many surprises at Gabriel's offering. Let's see if anybody disagrees.
Xander Clark made 5 saves to keep his side in the game. James Tavernier scored his 16th goal this season and had a hand in all of the first 3. Connor Goldson, along with his captain, has been one of the 2 standout performers all campaign. Andy Constein made a late goal line clearance to secure the Dons a point. Scott Tanser opened up the Celtic defence with a brilliant pass to Stevie May. Martin Boyle was Hibs' main man again and bagged the opener. Marvin Bartley was everywhere for Livingston and got his goal in acrobatic fashion. Stephen Davis pulled all the strings in Dingwall, and whenever he plays, he runs the game. Scott Pittman scored the goal of the weekend and is central to all good Libby do. Dylan Connolly was a thorn in Aberdeen's side with his pace and tricky runs. Kemar Roof linked up with Tavernier for the first 2 goals and is so fluid in attack.
Anybody missed out there, guys? Anybody want to throw a name in there? There's not one single Celtic player in there.
No.
I know what Gab's loyalties lie then.
Yeah, absolutely. Always managed to get an Aberdeen. Always manages to get an Aberdeen player in. To be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, that's the team. You might agree with it. You might disagree. Don't forget also, and I must mention this. Some people have brought it up here now. I'm waiting to see, because there's no point in commenting and speculating on things, but I'm waiting to see what the comment, if it comes out, Tam, on Michael Gardyne is supposedly have made that incensed so many Rangers players. I'm not quite sure what the context of it is, what it's about, but clearly there's a story there brewing.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's something in that. I don't think the players would have reacted in the fashion that they did, and the manager at half time, Stephen Gerrard was right over the referee. So, I think it's something serious, to be honest. You don't see players reacting like that. I think you can always tell by a player's reaction. When I was a player myself and something serious happened, players react to it. So, listen, we don't know. We can't speculate. What's been said. It's up to Michael Gardyne and Ross County to sort it out. And if they have to issue an apology or whatever to Rangers, then I'm sure they'll do that. But whatever it was that was said, it really incensed the Rangers players and management. So I think there's definitely something in that's got to be sorted out.
Roughie, right at this moment, you know what it's like with FIFA. There's a big build-up. By the time we probably get to the draw, we'll be midway through our main course of our dinner. But it's all about getting ready for the World Cup in Qatar, which, I don't know, Roughie, it's 2022. It's going to be really, really hot over there. Do you think we can get the PLZ Soccer mystery machine out to Qatar?
I think we'd make an effort anyway to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, right now the draw, 55 countries, whittled down to 13 to go to Qatar. Qualifiers, 5 groups of 6 and 5 groups of 5. Alison, it would be what?
What odds are we to get Israel again?
It's the Stonewall cert. Absolutely. Qualifiers are going to be played March to November. 10 runners-up join the 2 best Nations League winners, with those 12 drawn into 3 playoff paths to determine the final 3. Scotland are 48th in the world, and we're in pot 3. We're going to face 2 higher and 2 lower-ranked sides, as I look right now at the FIFA site, just giving us an insight into it. Ali, it would be great if we could make it to that as well.
It would be remarkable, especially because you're going to have a taste of it this summer. It'll whet your appetite for the possibility of going to another major tournament, but I think none of us should be getting too ahead of ourselves. I think we'll wait and see if the draw is kind, and then see what we do this summer too, and where we can go from it. What you would say absolutely. Is that Steve Park, there are foundations there. What you've seen over the last few months or so is that this looks like a team that's certainly going in the right direction. Whether or not qualification for the World Cup is possible, I think will largely depend on a wee bit of luck this evening when the teams are drawn out the hat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll wait and we'll react to that tomorrow on the programme. A couple of points on English football to finish as well, but thanks to everyone who's posted their messages all about football. And I would say you can do that on Facebook. You can like, share and follow us, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every now and then we will ban people who are abusive and say things which are sectarian in content and, of course, racist as well. We're certainly not going to stand for it on this channel. Billy Ingalls, this isn't the show for you. When you're derogatory towards certain groups of people. So we'll get to you eventually, Billy, and ban you too. But lots of people want to talk about football in a positive sense. Sorry, Tam, I know I've left it for weeks and weeks. I know.
I get a wee buzz when you say it. I must admit, I get a wee feeling in my stomach. I really enjoy it.
Absolutely, I know. I must admit, I really sometimes it just bemuses me about people and what they think they can get away with calling other people. It's just derogatory, mindless morons, and they leave me wondering about the human race. Anyway, we'll still batter them every now and then, Roughie, because there are 99% of the people who watch this programme are thoroughly decent people who love Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, the lot, you name it. Although, the rumours are flying out. I can see messages coming in here on my own feed from phones and emails saying, there could be a decision coming imminently on the Celtic situation. We will wait. We will react to it. We will be on live reacting to anything if it was Neil Lennon or indeed if it was a new manager coming in. We try and react to everything and bring you the latest news. Don't forget you can get it on PLZ Soccer's website. If you download the app, you'll have it at your fingertips with all that you need. Anyway, apart from that, Roughie, you can never keep fans happy. You can certainly never keep pundits happy. I mean, I'm hearing some pundits bleating on about Spurs who won 2-0. Are the Spurs fans going to be happy with the way Spurs played against Arsenal because they'd only about 30% of the possession? They won 2-0 against Arsenal with 2 wonder goals. Of course they're going to be happy. They're top of the league.
Yeah, and anybody hasn't been watching successful that manager. Mourinho has got a knack of playing that style of football. I think you just have to look at when they won the European Cup. The style they played then. He could go away from home and you could just write nothing each in your fixed odds cooking because that's what he was going to get because he knows how to win games. It might not be the greatest, but you've got 2 players like Harry Kane is wonderful and the goals were absolutely superb. So no, I personally don't think they'll stay there at the end of the season. But as long as he's there, he adds a wee bit to football when you're watching it.
Yeah. Did you not want to have a go at pronouncing Heung-min Son's name, Roughie? Did you just?
No, I made a mess of it the last time.
Yeah.
No, I made a mess. I've learned the lesson. Hey, if you can't pronounce it, don't say it.
Yeah, but
I think he's genuinely world class. I think he is genuinely a world class footballer.
Son, he's magnificent. I mean, the goal was unbelievable. Even Jose Mourinho was waxing lyrical about it.
But I have to admit, Harry and Sonny are world-class players. And in the top of what they do offensively, they have a very good sense of the team. They have a very good sense of the balance that we need. And they also do an incredible tactical work for the team when the team doesn't have the ball. So top players, really amazing.
Do you think they'll win it this season, Tam?
Every chance, Peter. I think that there's a few up there that will fancy it. I think Man United have been poor and they're only 3 or 4 points behind. I think they've got a chance. Yes, Manchester United have got an opportunity. I think Liverpool, Spurs. But I think whoever finishes above Liverpool will win the league.
Yeah, it's a good shout, actually. I'll tell you one thing that I really enjoyed, and this is what Jurgen Klopp's going to be talking about right now. Even with just 2,000 fans in against Tottenham Arsenal and then Liverpool's game against Wolves, 2,000 fans, it was just great, and Klopp was delighted to see them.
Incredible. When the first player, when the people saw the first player, then they obviously got quite noisy, and so we the rest who was still in thought, oh my God, that sounds really loud. And then you come outside, you see not the real faces, but you see the group of people, and it was very emotional, to be honest. After 10 months, without that, it's just a wonderful, wonderful sign.
Yeah, great to see the fans back in. I'm not quite sure how they've managed to do it, Roughie, because most of England is just coming out of lockdown into some of the highest tiers about. They've got 2,000 fans in. 3 months ago, they were telling us they couldn't get fans in because you weren't allowed to stand up and you weren't allowed to cheer and shout because the droplets from your mouth would be out in the atmosphere and potentially infect someone. But suddenly, Roughie, the whole thing has changed. It was great to see the fans in, and long may it continue.
Yeah, I think that's why so many people are up in arms about things that are happening elsewhere. Everybody's got a case. Everybody thinks, how can you do that, and we can't do that. And when you get things like that, but I would like to think that the clubs that are allowed to do it are going through every protocol you need to. And let's hope there's no no comeback at all, because we know what happens if there's any comeback. It'll suffer. Everybody else will suffer. So let's hope they're doing it right.
Yeah, okay. It's a big week. What do you think is going to happen? I know it's a $64,000 question, Alison, but what do you think is going to happen this week? And if you can caveat on the back of that, what you think should happen this week at Celtic?
I think it's very difficult to say. I'm not sure anybody knows where it's going other than Dermot Desmond and Peter Law just now. I think the problems have been compounded a bit by the concertinaed nature of the Europa League games. So the fact that you have another busy week, a busy couple of weeks coming up, I just wonder if that maybe has an effect on the decision making that goes on. I would agree with Alan. I think they're hanging on to get to the delayed Scottish Cup final, to that game against Hearts. For me, I do think that you've come to a point where it's crying out for change now. I think it looks staid. I think it looks very much as though it's in a rut, and I'm not sure there's any evidence that's been offered over the last few weeks that would suggest that there's change coming on the park imminently.
I am in your camp, Tam. I think we've been singing from the same hymn sheet for more than a few weeks on this one. I am bewildered that they are stumbling along from one car crash to the next.
Yeah, listen, I think that there will be a change this week, Peter. I don't think it can be left any longer, and I feel sorry for Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon's, he's trying to do his job. He thinks he can turn that around, and I appreciate that. Every manager will probably think that they can turn that around, but 2 wins in 12, you can't survive that as a manager at Celtic or Rangers. And even if you were a Hearts and Hibs, 2 wins in 12, there'd be a lot of pressure on you, but particularly this season in Celtic and Rangers. And Neil Lennon would be saying the same if he was sitting in his seat. And commenting on managers, 2 wins in 12, he'd be saying the same thing. It's not good enough for a manager at Celtic and Rangers. So I think there will be a change this week, and I think it will come in the next few days.
Well, there you are. You get your opinions on this programme. One thing about the stats, we can only look at it, call it as we see it when we watch the games. And of course, when we look at some stats, we've got to try and call it as we see it as well. And that's the predictor. Let's have a look and see who's ahead and who's in the back line in this race. Oh, there it is. And I am there. I hope I am allowed to get to at least the cup final, Roughie, to try and peg you back. Tam is 14 points in front of me. Is that too much? Achievable, Roughie? Should I hang in there?
If you're saying the league's won, Rangers are 13 ahead, so you've got to say that it's all over.
I unfortunately can't see the scores. I can't see the scores on my screen. What are the scores?
Well, I'm 128. You're 131, and Tam's 142. Well, I think it's Tam. It's certainly a photograph of a Bond villain, but I'm almost certain it's Tam.
I don't know what I was thinking there, by the way.
What were you thinking getting
shocker.
that? What was your wife's reaction? What was your wife's reaction when you just came in there with a white cat and that hairstyle?
Peter, I was going grey at the sides, and I went to go into the woman that does my wife's hair, and I said to her, "Listen, I just want you to get rid of my grey and just dye it a bit," and it was an absolute disaster. It went yellow, nicotine. It was like fag ash, nicotine, blowing smoke on it, and then it went purple, and then it went white. So, it was a disaster.
Yeah. Ali, just grow old gracefully when it comes to you. If you come on here with mad blonde hair, you're going to get absolute pelters. That's all I'm saying to you, Ali. Anyway,
no grey in mine.
Else.
Absolutely no grey there.
No grey. Whoa. So you've eliminated it completely, eh? Fantastic.
You send me your dye.
Well, absolutely. That's what I'm just about to say. It's jojoba. I think it is something that's in the dye that she uses. Anyway, apart from anything else, give us your opinion. Let us know what you think. Do you think it's retrievable for Celtic? Do you think Rangers are going to win it? If you're a Rangers fan out there, is it going to be more than 13 points at the end of the season? Is the league over? It's the burning question. It's the ongoing situation in Scottish football. We'll look later on this week towards the Europa League matches. Of course, Rangers looking to the last 32. Celtic just looking to try and get a bit of pride in the Europa League. They're already out of it. All your comments are gratefully received if you're a football fan and you like talking about football. Just before we go, if you're thinking about a Christmas present, lots of people are jumping on the bandwagon with our T-shirts, our canvas and our prints. It's the perfect Christmas gift for your dad, mum, your brother, your sister, your best friend. The Legends Limited Edition series by sports artist Jim Scullion is available to order now. From T-shirt to canvas to prints, select your favourite legend of football. From Larson to Laudrup, Pele to Maradona, Messi or Ronaldo. Order your perfect stocking filler now by clicking on the link to own your very own limited edition legend.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed.